It's Reality Check with Craig Price.
I'm an idiot.
4 minutes in and I'm already wrong.
I'm like a monkey. Hello, look at me.
You're like a beautiful mind. I'm more like Forrest Gump. So
This isn't Self-Esteem Weekly. This is a reality check. Craig, shut up.
it's Reality Check with Craig Price. This week, our old pal and past guest, Ben Neiburger, is here to discuss nightmare family legal issues. Welcome to the podcast. Just a quick reminder that the charity photo calendar at realitycheckpodcast.com/calendar is available. Better pick one up this week if you're looking to give it as a gift, but you can also email Craig at speakercraigprice.com if you want to order in bulk for your office or clients. All profits go to Orangutan Outreach. I certainly hope you buy one. Well, we all have families. We all have end-of-life issues we face, be it our own or our families. So make sure you have all your affairs in order ahead of time. So I asked Ben to discuss some of the more outlandish issues that he's had to face being an attorney. So finish buying your gifts on Amazon, get as much eggnog as your little liver can take, and listen to Legal Family Messes with Ben Neiburger. Being the holidays, especially in December, is all about family and loving our family and being with our family. And so I thought, what better way to celebrate family than to understand how awful it could truly be? Because I think everybody gets kind of on their nerves at this time of year with the holidays, because they get kind of like, what is going on? And it's time to sit back and realize maybe our families aren't as crazy or as weird as we think. So I brought my buddy, Ben Neiburger. Ben, how are you, sir?
Oh, we're doing just great, Craig.
And he said that with such vigor.
There's nothing I like better than talking about screwed up families. I don't know why. Maybe it's because my family isn't as bad as some of these, but if I, let certain people get involved, it would be. But, it's just no topic that's dearer to my heart.
And being an estate attorney, especially in the state of Illinois, there's going to be a lot of crazy families that you got to run into. And unfortunately, it's usually out of greed and spite that they're fighting.
You know what? So in addition to estate planning, I do a lot of elder law, which is helping adult children take care of their parents as they age and die, and all the train wrecks related to that. And usually the stuff comes into my office only if it's really bad. And I get the impression that probably about 90 to 95% of the families are okay. They have their issues, but they're okay. And then there's the train wrecks, and some of the train wrecks are personality driven, and some of them are dementia or other idiosyncrasy driven, and it creates a lot of excitement during the holidays.
You're kind of like 911, where when people contact you, it's because it is a train wreck. Like when 911 gets a call, the person on the other line is probably having the worst day of their lives.
It's close, yeah, because we'll get a lot of calls. A lot of them are either from the spouse, where the husband has gone into the hospital and something's happened, and the kids are leaning on him this way. I got one the other week where her son wasn't calling her enough, and she wanted to change who her executor of her will and the trustee of her trust was because her son didn't call her enough. And I had to say, well, before we do that, why don't you have a conversation with your son and ask if there's any way he could call you more, and tell him, yes, you're being needy, but because your husband has dementia, you have a right to be needy.
Did she put in her will that he has to meet her a certain amount of times in a month to qualify for a certain amount of money?
Not at all, but it was interesting, the disconnect that I find in a lot of the family situations. There's a disconnect between what the kids think mom needs and what mom needs. I had one case where it's always like the single daughter, the poor single daughters. They take so much abuse. But the single daughter, mom came in and she said, well, I don't know if I want my daughter to do this because she's just so busy. She never wants to visit me, and whenever she calls me by a cell phone. And you know how bad those connections are? She must really not love me because there's a bad connection. And she goes on and on and on. And then finally I said, okay, let me call your daughter, and I'll find really what's going on, because I understand taking crazy bike trips and being a busy professional. And then I called the daughter, and she's like, what do you mean? I call mom all the time. In fact, I visited her 2 months ago, and I came there for a week and and mom said nothing. But mom, I came here to visit you. What do you want to do? And mom's like, well, no, nothing. And I said, I think I know what the problem is. The problem is your mother wants you to sit next to her in a chair and hold her hand 24 hours a day. I think that's really the issue. And then the daughter starts laughing. And then when I got Mom in my office again, I told Mom the same thing, and she's like, you know what? That's right. That's actually what I want. So, poor daughter. But now that we know that there's a hand-holding issue, then we can, manage expectations a little better, even if she's not going to call Mom on a landline all the time or sit and hold her hand the whole time.
And communications is the biggest problem. It's not necessarily just miscommunications; it's lack of communication. I think.
Go ahead.
I think a lot of it is secrets. So people keeping things from people, not necessarily because they don't want to bother them, which is a big problem. But I just think some people just don't say anything at all, just because they don't think it's anybody's business, and then all of a sudden, oops, I died. I forgot to tell people.
Well, the bigger issue is during disability, before they die. That's where it's really a train wreck. So, Mom gets sick and has to have, some ungodly operation, and you have the 3 kids sitting there, each with a different recollection about what Mom really wanted. And then they're all going to be there at this moment of high stress, protecting Mom's dignity as a human being, and they start fighting with each other because they have a different recollection than what that was. But if Mom told them, then they're like, oh, okay, well, we really don't like this decision, but that's what Mom wanted, and then they don't fight. So the communication is, in relatively normal families, I don't know if any of our families are normal, but the communication of wants and needs. I tell clients that come in, especially the adult children, you are the guardian of your parents' end-of-life dignity as a human being, and it's got a couple parts to it. One is what they want to happen to their body or not happen to their body, and then the other one is how much of a burden do you want to be on your children? Because I find a lot of the males in the culture are just like, yeah, wheel me out to the curb and, I'll be fine. And then you have the Jewish and the Italian and the Greek mothers who are like, oh, the world revolves around me. I want you to suffer because you love me. Please give up your life and we go forward. So it just depends.
Or the martyrdom where, oh, don't bother me, don't worry about me, I'll be fine, when really they want you to take care of them. So instead of the
and you have all those issues. Yeah, all those issues come up. They're super crazy. But it's how families are. But if you communicate ahead of time, you can minimize it, not get rid of it.
But there's always surprises. What are some of the biggest surprises you've had to deal with your clients?
The surprises are usually related to the deep, dark family secrets that nobody wanted to say, and then it comes out. I had one that it was just astounding. So a long time ago, when you didn't have gay marriage or anything like that, the people would adopt each other. And usually there's a generation separation, but they would adopt each other to perform those legal bounds. And one guy always assumed that his grandfather and his father, or something like that. There was no adoptive relationship, but there was another relationship. And this gentleman who died was a university professor, and he left his house to his grandson as a joint tenant on the property, which is joint tenancy with rights of survivorship, so the survivor gets it. But the sister didn't know that. And so right out of a B movie, the grandson is looking at his dear beloved grandfather's coffin, and the aunt comes up with the Wicked Witch of the East laugh and goes, ha 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 ha, he's really not your grandfather, assuming that she would collect everything in the estate. And so he comes into my office with this, and because nothing was controlled by his will, because it was held in joint tenancy, he inherited the house, but not the contents. And so she wanted to come in and sell off the contents. Of course, the contents are worth like $10,000 or $20,000, except for the collection of pre-World War II German gay porn. And he had large pictures of tripods and these super rare books and just all of this stuff that for that segment of the populace is very, very valuable and rare. And of course, we wanted to protect his legacy, not with the family. So we had to go in and sneak in and take the stuff out and, donate it to a museum and other stuff. And we made her get $1 million liability policy before she would even step in the house in case she hurt herself. So that's a doozy.
Yeah, that's always a nice surprise.
Yeah, so we had to actually hide that one. Some of them, it's you don't hide it. It just comes out and you let it go. But that one we had to hide.
Has there been any big reveals that, like this one's hidden, so this lady never knew that existed. But was there ever something that was in a will?
A lot of it's the domestic partner stuff. And the family doesn't know, and they're single, and all that kind of stuff. And then it's revealed because the domestic partner gets to keep the house, and the family is, angry. You also get a lot of fun surprises on second marriages.
Ah, yes.
In second marriages, I can't tell you what percentage of my income relates to fights that come out of second marriages. But what happens is, you've got the new spouse who you're in love with, and she wants you to leave the money, but then you have your family from the first marriage. What are you going to do? And once something happens, the family from the first marriage comes in and goes, where's our inheritance? And, oh, you harlot who married my father/mother/ whatever you're going to say, are you stealing my inheritance? And then they, start going to town and lawyer up and all sorts of other things. And usually how the assets are distributed after death creates a lot of excitement and is a nice reveal.
Any Leona Helmsleys where Fido gets
they leave $12.5 million to the dogs? Yeah. There's one, I got one recently that came in that's leaving because of the amount of involvement his biological children had as their biological mother was sick. Because of that, he decided that he would rather leave his fortune to faith-based charities. And so we just recently redid his estate plan where the kids got almost nothing, but the big fat retirement account went to, literally 15 faith-based ministries. And of course, he's not telling his children that. They're just going to have to discover that later.
Oh, so that's a lovely little ticking time bomb just ready to go off.
Oh, but that one's great because you can't go into a judge and say, well, Dad just inherited me because the charities were really nice to him. And so it makes it really hard and the kids kind of lose. So if you don't help out your parents, sometimes things happen.
How petty do siblings get? Because, fighting over a large sum of money I can understand to some degree. When my parents go, and when that ever does happen, I don't care about the money. That's not the point. They earned it as far as I'm concerned. It's
right.
I don't. It's not owed to me at all, and I'm not going to fight over whatever they want. If they send it all to the dog, that's great. We'll make sure the dog comes live with me, but it's all to the dog. But I know that some people get really vicious over little tiny things. It's not the big things; it's the little things.
So the real issue is how much the siblings hate each other, or how much the spouses who have taken over hate the other one, and what kind of payback is due at the final reckoning, which is when mom and dad are sick or when mom and dad die. Some of these siblings have been fighting or not fighting forever, and this is the last chance. And a lot of them don't realize that is why they are acting the way that they do, because this is the last dance. I got one case where we finished where it's a brother and a sister, and the brother was in charge of the money, and the sister was in charge of the health care. And of course, the sister wanted to put mom in the best nursing home known to man, and the brother didn't want to, write any checks to mom because he gets most of the estate. And then they fought, and then they fought some more, and then they fought some more. And so my legal fees are about $120,000 in this brother versus sister fight, and he had the equal amount of stuff. And then they just couldn't stop attacking each other after mom died in dealing with the distribution of the Hummels and the knickknacks and the other stuff. In fact, it got so bad that there was an argument over the correct glass dome that goes over the correct tchotchke. And for some reason, she knew the different indentations in the glass domes on what should go where. And you know what? A couple of them were switched.
Oh, my Lord.
I've also had some sisters fighting over the picture book. So $3,500 of fees later, I had somebody fighting over the original picture book, the original pictures. And copies weren't enough, digital images weren't enough. They had to have the original, and so we fought over that. And finally, we got to the other attorney's office, and they pulled a switcheroo on us. They said, we'll just take this book and look at it, and we'll bring it back. And they brought it back without the pictures. Or some of the pictures. Oh. And so we kind of lost because they stole these pictures right out in front of us. Of course, I later learned that the attorney was sanctioned by the Attorney Regulatory Commission on unethical conduct, but I had to wait about 5 years for my payback on that.
Well, let's not end on a sour note because we've been talking about something. Has there been any surprises, good surprises? Like,
so yeah. There's a lot of good surprises.
But you always in the movies and on TV, and things like that. There's always like this uncle that no one's ever heard of who puts them in the will, and that's never going to happen. I know everybody who knows me, and none of those people are going to put me in their will. And the ones that because I don't know that many with money, and the ones that have money, I'm not close enough to get any of it. Is there something like that's ever happened where some weird out of the blue just dies?
I had a woman leave a large fortune. She was single. She left a large fortune to one of her coworkers from 20 years ago.
Wow.
I had that happen.
Well, that's nice.
I also have a lot of situations where children get unequal distributions of the estate. Mom gives one more. And a lot of them say, look, that wasn't fair. And after death, they even it out. They do the right thing. And I see that actually quite a bit, and which means there are good people out there who do what's right. And there's a lot of stuff of siblings and family members taking care of each other and children paying for stuff. There's so much good out there. Unfortunately, I see just the exciting stuff because for some reason the good doesn't come into my office because I guess they don't need my services. But there's a fantastic amount of caring and good stuff out there. It's just the other stuff's so heinous it comes up in conversation more.
And being a jaded lawyer like yourself, has anything that's ever happened that has almost moved you to tears?
When these 80-year-old women clean out their closets after I've helped them after their parents die, they give me the old scotches, with a label that goes over the top and then down the side of the bottle. Remember those? It's like whiskey from 1977, like the cheap whiskey, and they're so happy. They come and give me a hug, and then they give me this old dusty bottle of whiskey. So I cry every time that happens because it's just so beautiful.
Well, it's the best. They don't. I always hear that the best way to through someone's heart is through their stomach, but it's through the liver, and so. And so, Ben, I want to thank you for coming on. I want you to tell Barbara I said hello.
Okay, will do.
And when's the next big triathlon for you? Because one thing I've noticed is that you are doing something I would never do. Because you were doing the polar swimming, and you seem to be more triathlete lately.
We found a focus and a hobby that takes all of my OCD away from areas that can hurt me. So doing half Ironman triathlons, happens to take a lot of energy, and it keeps me from harming others. So we're going to do a marathon in March for a friend of mine. He's doing his 50th marathon on his 50th birthday, and I thought, other than not wanting to do a marathon in the first place, that would be nice to share. And then I've got some races in the summer.
A happy holiday to you, and to everyone out there, happy holidays, whichever that could be. It could be Hanukkah, it could be Christmas, it could be Kwanzaa, it could be nothing. Just celebrating the Festivus like the rest of us. But thanks for coming on, Ben. That's the show. Thanks to Ben for coming on. Comments, questions, and guest suggestions should go to Craig at SpeakerCraigPrice.com. You can follow the show on Twitter at RealityCheckPod. Go to RealityCheckPodcast.com to sign up for the newsletter, or you can buy the calendar, still available. See you next week.